Uh, what's up? Yeah, so I thought we'd do something a little bit different here. Normally, I've kept the same mode of not trying so hard on videos, but I think it's time we do something a little bit different. So I was watching this chick. She goes by Funny Old World. She's pretty cool. I like it. Good recon. When I came across it, she was talking about one of the subjects that I happen to have come across as well. Now, it's pretty cool because in one section she's talking about California being an island. And I was like, what too, right? But it gets even deeper than just the naming of Calafia. And I kind of wanted to go through that with you. Now, I know some of this stuff is going to be confusing, and you might just have to go and do some of your own research behind me. But either way, the implications of some of the things that have come across are pretty amazing. Now, what I got to point your attention to is that this really evolves into something deeper than what I originally thought it would be in the first place, because it kind of like dives into like romance for like the Spanish, and then it says it wasn't, and then there's some things that were, and there's just a whole bunch of symbolism at play here. It's a lot deeper than it seems at first. When exploring Queen Calafia, there are like these super resemblances to Queen Maya and Cali. In all of this exploration of like California being depicted as an island, of course we're coming across with Queen Calafia. Calafia, Khalifa, there's lots of different ways I guess you could pronounce it, but the resemblances are directly tied to Queen Maya and Kali. Kali's a Hindu goddess, okay? So there's some interconnected myths across the cultures for sure. Now, when I first got into this, I actually posted something that was done by a gentleman of the name of Waldeck. He apparently took this sculpture and illustrated it. Now, was the illustration done correct in the first place? Or did he add his own artist rendition to it? When I initially saw this and put a post on my Instagram, I was like, yo, what's going on here? Like, why does the dude look so like Greek in a sense? And like, there's just some weird, like the way that the pose is going, like what is going on? That was my initial thing. And then I had somebody get on my ass. It was Based, and Based was like, yo man, quit trying to hijack. And I'm just like, yo man, I'm trying to figure this out. Like, what is going on? And that's where it all began. So Waldeck's interpretation is kind of weird because you see these masculine features of a male within the actual head itself, but then as we go further down, you can see the aspects of a female in the same exact pose as Queen Calafia. This queen was also interpreted as the Queen of Ethiopia. Of course, opening up a whole bunch of questions in relation to gender and interpretations of them in historical narratives. But then if we look right here in this film, I believe it was named The Spiders, if I'm not mistaken, we can clearly see what's being depicted as a woman queen, Calafia. And check it, look at the Phrygian cap that is being worn, same as in Waldeck's. Now what's also weird is in some of these stories about Queen Calafias, there was someone that she was involved with after having a long war, right? They went to war with flying on griffins and had the griffins come down and attack people. It was kind of a crazy story, big time romance, right? So across the story though, there's a dad, I think his name is Amadis, and then the son comes out to fight Queen Khalifa. Apparently Queen Khalifa loses. Yeah, Talinke is the person that she marries. I don't know. That was the person that she fought. But in that, Talinke shares similarities with the Mayan hero twin Xbalanque or Ixbalanque. And that literally translates to the Shiva of Lanka. The Shiva of Lanka in Tamil. And Palenque or Palenque, well, its meaning is the protectorate of Lanka, which again shows connections to India's mythic Lanka. Watch out. Now, we also have Cali in Ireland. Really, it's like Caliec, but still. So in all of this, coming with California itself, there's so much historical blending, mythical blending happening here. There's so much blurring. So we got to dive a little deeper. Oh, and one more thing. In Ireland, Cali actually transforms, let me read this, into Gaelic or Gaeliac, a term synonymous with old woman, which then evolved into the Black Queen ruling a Western paradise. And they say that could possibly link. It's pretty wild. Let's go. So we're going to explore Ishbalanque as Shiva and Buddha at the same time. It's kind of wild, I know. But even so, Hindu and Buddhist deities are connected with America more than we've known, or at least myself. I guess how it works is that Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra, are all separate aspects of Shiva, one deity. And again, that's the Trinity. So trinities, triangles, that always is a big play here. And then if you kind of look at it deeper, it's also the aspect that Buddha is considered an incarnation of Vishnu and embodies an aspect of Shiva. So they're like all intertwined into this one being. Now, this position and pose that we're seeing with all of these figures is actually called La Litana pose. And it's like a royal position. It's a royal ease is what they call it, right? Usually associated with Buddha, by the way. And of course, you got Siddhartha Gautama and Guatemala. Linguistically, that just fits perfect. And if you didn't know this, Buddha actually means La North America, or the Americas in general. Siddhartha translates to he who has found meaning of existence or goals. So then again, if we really kind of look at the name Siddhartha Gautama, it means Buddha's name symbolizes someone who has found the meaning of existence in America. Now the Shiva Linga of Tulum, Mexico, becomes a focal point with Shiva Linga interpreted as the abode of the Mayan god of Xibalba, which is closely related to Shiva Laya, which is the abode of Shiva.
So this is in Tulum. And now, what do you think that is? It's a Shivalaya. This is right in front of that temple that I told you. It's a big ground. And you can see that this plaque is exactly the size that you see here. There is a Shivaling here. There is a place to put it. And it is a very small building. But the beauty of it, it is done in a Vedic Dharma. I actually put a compass there. All the doors line up with the 4 disha, directions. So one is in north, east, west and south. That is where they were worshipping. You can see that this is the place for offering. This is a Shiva. And if you don't believe this, what about this? This temple was destroyed.
Now the presence of a Shiva Linga in Mexico, documented in Waldeck's drawings, as a similar post in Chalma, Mexico, recognized as a lingam or phallic symbol, supports this connection. Now, of course, we got a Shiva Linga in Mexico, right? And then we got a similar post in Chalma, Mexico, and they're lingams, right? They're phallic symbols. But it all still connects because they were literally worshiping a black cylindrical stone, and it was attributed to have healing powers. I've heard of that somewhere else where they rub it and walk around a square. I'm sure you have too. But it was later transformed into an image of Christ by the Spaniards. And then there are also accounts too of the Aztecs saying, I think, or maybe just someone wrote it, but they Quetzalcoatl had lived in India. Then you have Belize, and it's interpreted as deriving from Baleshwar, and I think that means Shiva as well. Now, if the Mayans were praying to a so-called supposed god named Xibalba or Ishbalanque, which would be just another variation of Shiva's name, it would kind of put a little bit more weight and cement to the whole theory in the first place. It not only blends like the Hindu and the Buddhist viewpoint with American mythology or just beliefs in general, but it also proposes, a transcontinental union and historical fusion that's not really talked about of both religious and cultural ideas. And there's definitely some ties there that we need to speak about. So in our research, if you haven't watched anything on the Phrygian cap, I did a little cool little different research piece video as well on that one. And we really took a focus to look at the Phrygian cap and what that is, because it wasn't normally meant for like the Mayans. At least I didn't think so in the first place. So if we're linking it, what we'll initially do is we'll link it to the ancient Colhuacan, and we'll try and draw parallels between the headdress of the Mayan figure and the Nahuatl glyph for Colhuacan. So we gotta highlight this because there's a striking resemblance between the Nahuatl glyph for Colhuacan to the Phrygian cap, which has always been observed in codexes, where Kuhua Indians were depicted with the glyph on their heads. I definitely see something there. I don't know if it's just me, but yeah. Now, there's also been some talk about if Waldeck saw it in the way that it clearly was, deciphered it in his own way, and then destroyed it, because it's just been destroyed since he did it. I wonder why. So let's go over now to the bow relief, which is compared, of course, to the Oriental yoga position, and a Hindu drawing of the bisexual deity Krishna, of course known as a form of Shiva. And look what we find. This is more than just a coincidence. I mean, come on, man. Literally. They're that similar. Now the bow relief, of course, is depicting a youth adorned the beautiful medallion. What face is it bearing? Now what we've been doing is there's some pretty unique characteristics here in comparisons to Apollo, who of course then is tied to the Greek-Roman god of Mithra. So we got Mithra, also known as Mitra, usually wearing a Phrygian cap. And then that further relates over to the Hindu god Revanta, which is a form of Rudra Siva or Shiva. So if we got Phrygian caps on Revanta's attendants in museum reliefs, I don't know, this kind of solidifies the connection again. That's why I say there's a key to this. It's the Phrygian cap. So if we bring it on home, this bow relief of the Mayan Ixbalanque, Expalanque, would be better known as Shiva. And the Phrygian caps originate in Colhuacan, Mexico. Now bear with me, because we're going through a lot of different parts here, but it all comes back home. It's all part of one. So now we're going to shift over to the symbol of the elephant. They are both significant in Mayan and Aztec, as well as Hindu or Bharat cultures. Here we can see Ixbalanque wearing an elephant mask with a long nose. It's known as an elephant trunk, okay? If we're going to link it over to the Hindus, it's going to come back to Indra. This connection with the elephant and Indra, it dates back to Vedic times. Then a later incarnation of Indra was the elephant-headed god Ganesha. Now the elephant-headed deity in America is seen as a blend of Indra and Ganesha. It's just a fusion of the significant Hindu rain gods, or the original before it was split into two. And it would be like an elephant-headed Buddha. Therefore, another blending with the Buddhist and Hindu elements of American deities in the first place. The god, though, known in America, was Shak to the Mayas, and Tlaloc to the Aztecs. And then here we can refer it right over back to the Hindu Indra. Now there is a Mayan depiction of Indra's combat with Vritra from the Rigveda. And this is where the elephant-headed god is shown bearing thunderbolts, okay? Now this comparison extends from Ganesha to Teoya Miki, and parallels just keep on going, because it's just a modification of Ganesha. And then again, Teoya Miki has a deep association with the Kali of the Hindus. Awil, or Olmec god K, in Mayan culture is literally just the Hindu goddess Kali, but in her more destructive aspect. So the elephant headdress really is just symbolic of the worship of Shiva or Ixbalanque. And literally, this image is two beings blended into one. It's Queen Kali, or Calafia, and King Shiva, Ixbalanque, Expalanque. So bringing it back over to Cali and California then. It's more than just like a geographical label, that's for sure. But it does have spiritual and cultural roots of mass significance. And we got this dude named Sir J.G., I think it's Fraser, but there was other scholars as well. They postulated that California is indeed a name after Cali, which then again just completely takes away everything in relation to Queen Calafia. There's no doubt I'm like so intrigued about all of this. Like, where's the bottom of it? Is there a bottom? So again, we're going back to the Irish thing, which is Caliec, which was also known to the Spaniards as Calafia. And it literally does translate out to old woman. But then again, you got to look at it a bit, because What does that then show? If they talk about old woman, well, Kali looks like an old woman, like an aged deity. So this black goddess then would resonate back over to the worship of the gypsies, if I'm not mistaken, which they revered Sara Gali as Queen Kali. So we got linguistic interpretations here, which are giving us intriguing possibilities that Kapila Aranya was misspelt as Califo Aranya, meaning California, which would then go back, which it really means Khalifa Forest, then bringing us back to the Shasta Trinity National Forest. Why do you think Mount Shasta's always been around and talked about so much with so much mystery? But then again, Calafia means successor, ruler, or leader. Titles which are befitting to Kali, which is the ruler of the forest. You see, it's not too confusing. It all comes back together. This concept is of a trinity, and it's bringing everything back in relation to Shiva, Kali, and Ganesha. Again, bringing it all together. So then we got a possibility that Mount Shasta is a pyramid. You know what I'm saying? Located in the forest of Shiva, Kali. Because if you really think about it, Shasta, okay, then you got Shiva. Shasta itself is just another name associated with Shiva. It literally further cements the idea that Shiva, Kali, forest, and Mount Shiva, Kali, in California. Now, I know everybody's wanting to attribute California to this romance that was done in the 16th century, but it's just, there's too much more there. Now, check this out. There's a Buddha found in Uxmal. This Buddha in Palenque, bearing the name Shakmol, and has a connection to Sahavomani, which is one of Buddha's full names. Now, this would suggest an earlier form of Buddha's birth legend than commonly known Nidanataka. An intriguing depiction, of course, there's no doubt, but the god holds in his right hand a steaming bowl of rice. However, it's not represented as the Buddha Siddhartha Gautama, but as the elephant-headed cloud god, Ganesha. This thing is huge because it's like the earliest form of a divine existence for this deity. This Ganesha, a Mexican version of Indra Buddha, appears alongside Mayan deities such as Indra, Ganesha, and Chak, the three again popping up. This is a huge discovery of an elephant-headed god in Central America identified as one of the Yucatan Chaks and resembling Ganesha. What? Shak, in this context, is just another form of Ganesha, the turtle of Kurigura, bearing the image of Shakmul, which just resembles Buddha and reinforces this connection. This effigy represents Buddha himself. Of course, we got the alignment of the Buddha, Shakmul, and an elephant mask, with the turtle shell symbolizing water. Of course, this is a complex web of connections, but either way, Buddha is Ganesha, and Ganesha is a form of Shak, who in turn is Shakmul and Tlaloc. All these gods are seen as a form of Indra, with a variant being of Indra Ganesha. Tlaloc, Shak, and Indra, they share so many numerous similarities. Now, it's the common belief that elephants are native to Asia. But then again, you got to remember too, if you want to bring it into play, that Plato did say that elephants were native to Atlantis, which then just lets us know that the Mayan sculptors already knew what was up. They was apparently Atlanteans, because they had them elephants, baby. So if we get even a little bit deeper, don't get too confused. Tlatoani kind of parallels with Shiva and Shakti, with Shakti being identified as Kali, of course. Now, the churning of the Milky Ocean, which is a pivotal event in Hindu mythology, is potentially a parallel with Mesoamerican mythologies, of course. Now, let's talk about Ehekaro. This dude was an elephant-nosed god of the winds and the morning star. And we got some parallels there with Ishbalanka and Shiva. And the spiral itself, as far as the ornament on the elephant mask, has actually been linked to the symbol of thunder. But again, this spiral is known all over the place in various cultures and religious icons. But it is found on pre-Columbian elephant figures, on Indra's elephant in Delhi, and of course we already saw it on our Phrygian cap, worn by the Mayan god or priest. But then let's take a quick little peek at this other thing, the word Naga. Because This word Naga actually is rich in Indian culture and refers to a benevolent god or king associated with the cobra. But guess what? It can also mean an elephant too. So we can see how things get confused over time in relation to deities in America. Now, elephants in this context, of course, represent Indra. And of course, Tlaloc and Shak are seen as American representations of Indra, who was known as the king of the gods. Now, Buddha and Ganesha are also linked to Tlaloc, but what about the Phrygian cap? So, this Phrygian cap was literally worn by priests, pagan priests, and during their sacrificial services to deities like Mithra, Baal, Moloch, and Hadad. Well, they're said to have been brought to Asia Minor from America by the Levite priest. So the Phrygians are actually identified with the same race as the ancient Berbers and Canaanites, or Canaanites. They were also Phoenician. They always wore this cap. So Phoenician mariners, known for their Phrygian stocking caps, made specific demands before sacrificing to their deities. And they were always, again, wearing the Phrygian cap. At least they were depicted in that way. Now here you can see, we see, what is this? That's Moloch. And what is Moloch doing? He's wearing a Phrygian cap. And the Phrygian cap has evolved into various headdresses and helmets over time, especially the American Indian Amazon warriors. But the elephant, symbolizing the cloud of rain, and the snake, representing the rainbow, are very significant in all of this narrative in the first place. The Airavata, with its 7 trunks representing the 7-headed Naga, and the Makara, an elephant with a snake trunk or body, serve as vehicles for Indra and Enki. Elephants are a symbol of Baal, apparently. It's what we've come across so far. Pretty weird, right?